1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I came by plane to Kennedy Airport, and I found that it was the most amazing space in the world, because for some mysterious reason I was driven to the Lower East Side. I didn't choose to come to the Lower East Side. I could have ended in Chelsea or something, and I happened to come straight to the Lower East Side. And I remember crossing the Williamsburg Bridge, such an old bridge, right? It's like a paradox. And just rushing into Clinton Street. That at that time was the way to enter the Lower East Side. And going through these streets, I thought, goodness, New York was in a terrible shape. The fiber of the city was in real disarray, There was crime all over. Norfolk Street at that time was impractical. You couldn't go through Norfolk Street after 4 p.m. No way. It was such a war zone. 30% of the buildings were burnt. There was a real crime scene. That has gone. That is gone completely. There was something that is missing now, and that was a terrific positive element. It was the possibility left open for the explorer, for the settler, for the wanderer. You could dream that you could take this building and make it into the Charas Bojillo. You could dream to take this building and make it into Solidaridad Humana. You could take this synagogue and make it into your own life's art center. You could experiment with, because the city was so chaotic, at least this neighborhood was so chaotic, but that chaos provided with a unique opportunity to put something humanistic going on, to put energy, little grants, little efforts, little sweat equity, and transform the peace of the neighborhood into something. That's gone forever. There are no more opportunities. All the buildings are sold for millions of dollars. And then what happens is that my brother, who is an artist, Angel Orensanz, happened to be invited to do artwork in New York, in the country, right? In New York and in Atlanta, Georgia, in Florida, and so forth. So since I was here, he came to New York, and he was looking for a studio space. And he found on Norfolk Street, between Stanton and Houston, this big temple that he thought it was like Notre Dame. And so he started the project, and he kind of pushed me into the project. And then the project took us over completely. So the 4-year project became a lifetime project. I don't want to portray a beautiful or kind of self-aggrandizing picture, but it starts about 7:30. I get up, and by 10 o'clock, by 8 o'clock, I go to the first American Romanian synagogue. We meet there about 10, 12 people for Shacharis, for the morning service. It's a moment of tremendous peace, reflection, and seeing this Hebrew text that is written, 500, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years ago, those prayers. And then coming back and checking the fax, checking the email, checking the last calls that arrived throughout the night, and just answering the phone until my assistant Maria arrives and Altagracia arrives. And then I go downstairs and I check my old papers. I try to accomplish something, but no way. People keep coming. I keep repeating the same myths. This building is the summary of the Enlightenment in Europe. We reflect the music of Beethoven, the philosophy of art of Hegel, the ideas of socialists like Henry Heine. This is the first Reform temple. What do you mean Reform? Well, it means that in 1848 we have already a big organ here and a big choir singing in German. What happened then to this temple? You had to explain in a synthesis the history of 100 years of New York. When I came here, I didn't know anything about the Lower East Side. But then, after almost 3 years, I discovered that this had been the battleground of those guys, immigrants who came in the 1880s. They came from Odessa in the Ukraine. They came from Poland. They came from Russia. They came from all these parts of the world. Many of them were peasants from the countryside. Most of them were shopkeepers. They came with nothing, even with no English whatsoever. And they were able, in 5-6 years, to climb to the leadership of the workers' movement. They were able to be publishing books, to do theater, to do poetry. Yes, we have talked so many times about Emma Goldman. She was 16 years when she came to the Lower East Side. And from day one, she went to Center Street and she met Alexander Bergman. He was 18 years and they fell in love. They lived together when both of them were not in prison. They lived together the rest of their lives, right here in this neighborhood. And just two guys, one from Lithuania, she was from Kaunas, and he was from St. Petersburg. They were able to transform this city and even this country, single-handedly, two immigrants. She didn't speak good English, she spoke perfect German, and Russian, of course, and Yiddish, and Hebrew, and all these things. So, but these were not just two individuals. These are two big names among tens of thousands of people who, with no knowledge of the language, with no means at all, with no resources for education, they were able to transform the country. Not just to survive and to have a menial job and drive a car, a taxi, or have a little grocery store, but to truly make an indentation, to contribute something. So I feel that it's a privilege to be in this city and mostly in this neighborhood. I think seriously, when I walk on the streets, I think that Emma Goldman is going to come around the corner. So to me, New York becomes New York the moment that you can enjoy this multiplicity